history often dazzles us with its grand achievements. We admire the pyramids of Egypt, the might of Rome, the art of Greece, and the philosophies that shape civilizations. Yet, beneath these remarkable legacies lies a darker truth. Alongside progress, humanity has always carried shadows, traditions and customs that seem horrifying to us today. But to those who lived them, they were not only acceptable, they were essential. Imagine a world where thousands of people marched willingly to their deaths for the gods. Imagine mothers breaking the bones of their daughters' feet to meet a cruel standard of beauty. Imagine a family sitting together, not to bury their loved one, but to consume their flesh as an act of love. These were not hidden or shameful practices. They were honored, even celebrated. In this journey, we will step into the unsettling corners of the past. 7 customs that once defined entire cultures. 7 practices that reveal just how strange, and at times terrifying, human history can be. Prepare yourself, because these stories will disturb, surprise, and leave you questioning how thin the line between civilization and cruelty really is. The phrase sacrifice for the greater good is something we say lightly today. In the ancient world, it was taken literally. Civilizations across the globe, from the Aztecs of Mesoamerica to the tribes of Europe and the priests of Egypt, believed the gods demanded blood. For the Aztecs, human sacrifice was central to life itself. They believed the sun would not rise without it. The rain would not fall. Crops would wither. The universe itself might collapse. During major festivals, entire cities turned into theaters of death. Prisoners of war, slaves, and even volunteers climbed the stone steps of towering temples. At the top, priests held them down, cut open their chests, and offered their still-beating hearts to the sky. The scale was staggering. Some records describe ceremonies where thousands of victims were killed in a matter of days. The blood was said to flow down the steps of temples like rivers, a horrifying sight that to the Aztecs symbolized divine satisfaction. And yet, what we see as unimaginable horror, they saw as salvation. For some, sacrifice was not punishment but honor. To be chosen meant eternal life among the gods. Men and women accepted their deaths believing they were ensuring the survival of their people. In their worldview, it was not cruelty but duty. If sacrifice was the price for survival in ancient China, pain was the price for beauty. Beginning during the Song dynasty, the practice of foot binding became a cultural obsession. To possess small, delicate lotus feet was to embody grace, refinement, and desirability. But behind this image was unimaginable suffering. Girls as young as 5 were forced to undergo the process. Their toes were bent beneath the sole, the bones broken and wrapped tightly in cloth. Day after day, the bindings were pulled tighter, reshaping the foot into a small, arched form, no longer than 4 inches. Walking became nearly impossible. Many women lived their entire lives in pain, unable to stand for long or move freely. Yet families encouraged it. A daughter with bound feet was more likely to marry well, bringing wealth and security. It became not just a mark of beauty, but a symbol of status. The practice lasted for nearly 1,000 years. Generation after generation, women endured the agony because society demanded it. Only in the early 20th century, under social reform movements, was foot binding officially banned. By then, countless women had lived and died crippled, all in the name of beauty. Cannibalism is usually associated with desperation, stories of shipwrecks, sieges, or survival against starvation. But for some ancient cultures, eating human flesh was not horror, but honor. Among the wary people of the Amazon, the dead were not buried. To place a body in the ground was seen as cruel, condemning the soul to loneliness. Instead, families gathered to consume the flesh of their departed loved ones. This was not an act of hunger, but of devotion. By eating the body, they believed they kept the spirit alive within them. It may seem grotesque to us, but to the wary, it was compassion. It was a way to remain connected, to carry the essence of a parent, a sibling, a child. Burial meant separation. Consumption meant unity. This practice continued well into the 20th century, only fading when missionaries and outsiders introduced new beliefs. Yet it reminds us that respect for the dead has taken many forms across history. What one culture views as sacred, another may see as monstrous. Rome is celebrated for its brilliance, its aqueducts, its roads, its laws. But at the heart of Roman entertainment was blood. The Colosseum, one of the greatest monuments of the ancient world, was not built for plays or speeches. It was built for death. Tens of thousands of spectators gathered to watch gladiators fight. Many were slaves, criminals, or prisoners of war, forced into the arena against their will. Some were trained warriors seeking fame and the slim chance of freedom. The battles were brutal. Men fought each other with swords, tridents, and nets. Wild animals were unleashed into the ring, lions, tigers, elephants, turning the fights into a slaughter. Some spectacles recreated famous battles or myths, complete with elaborate sets and hundreds of combatants. For the gladiator, it was survival. For the audience, it was exhilaration. Death was entertainment, courage was spectacle. Emperors used the games to display power, to remind the people that Rome ruled not only nations, but life and death itself. Sparta is remembered as the ultimate warrior society. Its soldiers were feared across Greece, disciplined from birth for war. But this strength came at a cost, paid by the most vulnerable. When a child was born in Sparta, elders inspected the infant. If the baby showed signs of weakness, deformity, or illness, it was taken to Mount Taygetus. There, the child was abandoned, left to die from exposure or taken by strangers, often raised as slaves. This was not seen as cruelty, but necessity. Sparta believed its survival depended on eliminating weakness. Only the strong could remain, only the fit could contribute. It was a brutal form of natural selection, enforced by culture. The practice shocks us today, but in Sparta it was considered a civic duty. The children who survived grew up in one of the harshest military systems in history, molded into warriors from the age of 7. And for centuries, this system made Sparta one of the most feared states in the ancient world. While Egyptians placed their mummies in grand tombs, across the oceans the Anga people of Papua New Guinea developed their own unique tradition. When a loved one died, they were not buried underground. Instead, the body was preserved with smoke, a process that hardened and dried the flesh. The mummies were then placed high on cliffs overlooking the village. From there, the dead watched over the living. Generations could look up and see their ancestors, still present, still part of daily life. These figures stood for centuries, guardians on the cliffs, connecting the living to the past. For outsiders, the sight may appear eerie, but for the Anga, it was a symbol of respect. The dead were not gone. They were still there, watching, guiding, remembered every day. Among the Vikings, legends tell of a punishment so brutal it remains debated to this day, the blood eagle. According to ancient sources, this execution was reserved for traitors or enemies of high status. The victim was restrained, their back cut open, the ribs severed from the spine. The bones were pulled outward, and the lungs spread across the back like wings. Whether this was ever truly performed is uncertain. Some historians argue it was exaggerated, perhaps a symbolic tale of Viking cruelty. Others believe it was real, a ritual sacrifice to Odin, meant to honor the gods with a display of ultimate suffering. If true, it remains one of the most terrifying punishments in history. Not just death, but a spectacle of agony, meant to inspire fear in all who heard of it. These 7 customs reveal a truth that is difficult to accept. What one society praises, another condemns. Sacrificing thousands to keep the sun alive. Breaking bones to fit an image of beauty. Consuming the flesh of family as an act of love. Cheering as men slaughter each other for sport. Abandoning infants for the sake of strength. Hanging ancestors on cliffs as eternal guardians. And perhaps carving wings of blood into the backs of enemies. To us, these are nightmares. To them, they were life. History is not only the story of progress. It is also the story of cruelty, shaped by belief, power, and tradition. By looking into this darker side of the past, we are reminded of how fragile our own values may be. What seems normal today may one day be seen as horrifying. And what seems horrifying now was once revered. The past speaks to us, not only through monuments of glory, but through warnings carved in blood, bone, and memory.